Hi, welcome to the Crafts channel. My name's Corinne Brad, and today I just want to show you a quick demonstration how to get the best results if you're bookbinding. I'm going to create a binder, a book like this. So it opens flat. Let me just move the mini version so you can see that it opens flat. And each individual section will open flat quite easily. And it doesn't actually have a spine on it. What it does have is two strips of ribbon that go underneath the binding of each section of the book. So this is an A5 version. I'm going to make an A6 version, and I'm going to do it with paper straps. But there's a couple of things that I've learned over the years to make your life much, much easier. To start with, you need to cut your paper all to the same size. Now these were A4 sheets. Because I can never guarantee that an A4 sheet is 297 millimetres tall, I tend to cut these to 140 so that I know that they're going to be exactly the same size. And I make sections of about 5 sheets. Now the temptation is to get your 5 sheets, hold it like that, fold them all in half at the same time, which isn't the greatest way to do it, because what you'll find is these edges of the pages will all line up, but where the thickness of the paper affects the fold, these ones will all be slanted. So if you can create yourself a little folding board, and this is simply a piece of card, I've got 2 strips of chipboard that I've glued down, and then I've put washi tape on there to make sure that nothing can get underneath those strips of chipboard. And all you do, let's put it this way, take your sheet of paper, line it up into that right angle corner and crease. And do the same with all of your sheets of paper. And if you do them individually, you'll get a nice sharp crease, and the leading edge of each page of the section will line up properly. Now I'm going to make this as a little divided journal, just for notes, just for memories. You know, you can pop photographs in there, which is why when I've done my 5 pieces of paper, I'm also going to take a piece of patterned paper that's the same size, and again fold it and crease it well. Pop that to one side because I don't need that anymore. But what I need to now do is just slip all the folded pages inside each other, and then inside the pattern paper to make what's called a section. And then I'm going to bind the section together. The way I'm going to do this, and I don't know if you can see the crease line, because I know this is 140, so the centre point of this, actually it's not 140, it's 145. I'm going to find the centre point, which will be here 7, because I've left myself a bit either side, and I'm just going to make pencil marks at 2 centimetre divisions. And you want 6 pencil marks because you need to come in, out, in, out, in, out. Now what the temptation is to do is to just grab your pointy stick needle tool, that's what it's called, and just mark those sections all the way through. But before you do it, just recrease everything. Grab a bulldog clip and bung it on one side so the pages don't shift, and crease it while it's in a V, because that way you know that the folds are all sitting inside each other and they're not shifting. So when you put your needle tool in at a perpendicular angle, it will come out on the crease line of that outer cover. If you lay them flat and you put the needle tool in at an angle, it will come out in the wrong place and it will cause you problems when you want to join the binding up. I'm just going to use a slightly finer needle tool to make sure that I've got a hole all the way through. And then you can take your bulldog clip away, grab yourself an ordinary embroidery needle, and you want, what, about 60 centimetres of thread. Now this isn't extra strong thread, but this is a nice thick cotton top stitching thread, and I'm using it as a double layer. And unusually I'm going to have the knot on the outside. So just sew what is essentially the biggest running stitch in the world through the spine of your section. Oh. Try and hold your section in place while you do it. And pull it taut, but don't pull it too tight, because at some point you're going to need to be able to get underneath these stitches. Oh, just make that hole a little bit bigger. So your thread comes out again on the outside. So you've got a tail end of thread here, and then if you just do an overhand knot, push the loops of the overhand knot right up to the hole and hold your finger on it while you tighten it so the knot's against the hole. And then just trim away, leaving about sort of 5 centimetres of thread on the end of it. So that's your section. And you can see what I mean about the outer pages come up shorter than the inner pages. It's purely because of the thickness of that the fold where the pages are stacked up. So trim it up. Make sure you've got a relatively sharp blade in your craft knife. Put it on a cutting mat, line the edge of your ruler up to the edge of the cover, and don't try and cut through all 10 sheets of paper at once. Just go slowly and hold your craft knife at about, what, a 30-degree angle, so that most of the blade is cutting the paper rather than just the tip of the blade. You'll get a much smoother line. Them in the bin, and you get a nice flat edge on your section. So here are some sections that I made earlier, all with different colour covers. I'm going to stack them together. I'm going to make sure my ends of thread are all hanging out, and again, grab a bulldog clip, just something to hold them in place. Do you know what? I'm going to put it on the side because I need to put these up on their end. And then if you take your threads and divide them in half. Now you can make as many sections as you like for this book. I'm just going to do 5. So I'm going to have 2 threads that side, 2 threads that side, and then I'm going to split the middle one if I can split the middle one. Oh, I don't know how I manage it. I always manage to pick the same colour thread or material as my cutting mat, and then I can't actually see what I'm doing. So split them in 2 and just tie a reef knot among all of the threads. Fairly tight. I mean, don't pull it so tight that your thread starts to split through your paper, but you want it tight enough that it will hold those sections together. And we'll just put another overhand knot in there for safety's sake before I trim them away. Now if you leave these threads extra long, you can always join them together and put some sort of embellishment on the end of it to make a decorative feature of the binding. But I'm just going to trim them off, flip it around and do the same with this side. try and do this. Here we go. Squeeze them in and pull them tight. Actually, let's just move that bulldog clip there. That will hold them in for me. Like so. So in effect you actually have got a book, but it's very loosely bound at the minute. So what you want to do is we actually want to use these outer threads of the running stitch as part of the binding as well. So grab yourself another piece of paper, and each of those threads is about 2 centimetres long. I need to get a strip of paper underneath those threads, so I'm going to cut it 3.5 centimetres wide, and then I'm going to score down the centre of it so that it's sturdy and it's not likely to tear, like so. And then I'm just going to cut this strip in half, because you don't need an enormous length. And this is where the tricky part comes in, and you can tell it's going to be really tricky for me because I'm actually doing it, demonstrating it to you now. But if you take your needle and just pop the end of your needle under all of the sets of threads, which is an impossible task to do if you are doing it to a camera. No, there you go, they're all under there. And then take the folded point of your paper strip and just ease it underneath, and you can use the needle in a sort of backwards and forwards motion to make sure that those threads, or you can use the needle until you get it stuck underneath a piece of paper. There you go. Those threads just can go over the top of your paper, centre it up and fold it down. I'll do the same on the other side. So as I say, slip the needle under the threads, don't be tempted to use the edge of your craft knife or something like that to get under the threads, because you'll just cut the threads. Check you've got all the threads under the needle, and again put the folded corner in first, manipulate it round, and then just use that needle to ease the paper strip underneath all of the loops. There you go. That went remarkably easily. There's always a point in any of the demonstrations that I do that you just know that you're going to mess it up. So what you're now going to do is you're going to make a couple of board covers. These are just old bits of display board that I nicked off my friend who worked in retail. And the boards are slightly bigger than your section, and they'll go on the outside. And what you'll do is you'll cover these in paper on the good side, and you'll cut 2 slits, as in this one that I have prepared earlier. Totally changing the colour of the books. So there's 2 slits with a 2 centimetre gap there, so they line up with your paper strips. And then you pop the strips through the slots in your cover, And don't try and glue them like that, because invariably what will happen is then when you try and put your cover on, it will be too tight. Fold your cover over the book and just ease those strips out so that the cover sits flat. Just need to give them a bit more give. That's the way to do it. And then if you grab a glue stick, put a decent amount of glue on there to hold them in place. And then cover the whole of the unlined inside of your board cover with glue. And just pop a matching size piece of paper over the top to cover all your loose ends and to cover the ends of that bind. That's a little bit tight still. Let's just ease it. There you go. And the good thing is if you use a glue that takes a little while to dry, you can ease your binding straps just slightly so that your book will sit flat. And then, as I say, it opens and each section will open flat, and each section, because you've got these nice patterned covers on there, they can be you know, for different thoughts, different ideas, poems. And you don't even need to really put that cover on there if you don't want to. You could make some sort of decorative effect on the front cover of this and just have this as a handy notebook. Or you can cover it, as this one here, cover it in fabric and bind it with ribbon. But just a few simple tricks to make your notebooks and your hand-bound books look almost professional, with a nice clean edge, nice crisp folds, nice decent covers on them. And it's all stuff that you've got around the home, just pieces of card, pieces of chipboard, sewing needles, that kind of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that's going to inspire you to make a few journals of your own. Use up some of that scrap paper that's laying around your house and you don't know what else to do with. And we will see you again very soon. Thanks for watching. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.